Hey there, welcome back to All of Fabric 6. You guys smell that? That is the smell of endgame approaching. Or at least we're getting pretty close. We're going pretty good on the path towards the Completionist quest. Mana we got building up, so we should be able to get this Terra Shatterer to the SS tier in no time. All the food for the Hell's Kitchen quest line is being auto-cooked, although not without some hiccups, thankfully resolved now. We've been chipping away at these bosses, although there's still a couple left over. We don't talk about this one. Angel Ring we could probably make pretty soon. Yes. Alright, all these things except for the Calorite engines. We need to progress a little bit further in Ad Astra for that. And we're on our way towards finishing MI, so that one's in the works. So 2 things for today then. Let's try and work on our factory a little bit, take a few more steps into modern industrialization, and we'll do a little space exploration as well. Okay, but before we tackle anything new, there are a couple of loose ends from the last few episodes that need tying up. Firstly, this thing is just way too noisy, so I crafted up some of these burger mutes from the Tanya, and you can see they make the sound way more tolerable. It's not so much the explosions, it's the dispenser that's really annoying to listen to. Alright, that's one loose end tied up. Secondly, we were going to upgrade our mana storage last time, but we didn't have the materials for it. Well, now we do. 4 million mega storage components. And in fact, I might change that request at, let's say 3. I think this one's going to be the only 256 million mega one that we'll do. For the rest of it, we'll probably have to get away with 4 millions. So you know what? Let's just make that 1. Because whenever these Certus quartz get into the system, they just disappear. So we need 364 million mega ones. And that's going to be our 27 of the 4s, which we spent all last episode crafting up. And this will be our recipe for the Mega Mana House Cell Housing, whatever it's called. I just put a spark here on the top of our Fluix mana pool, and that just draws mana directly here from our system. So that seems to do the job. How much mana do you need? A full bar. Guessing that means a full pool of mana, which I don't know how much that is. Ta-da! And there's our 256 million mega storage component. Jesus. Should be an achievement. And this is our 256 million mega mana storage cell. Super overkill. Which can just sit in there alongside the 256k one. Whew, nice. Really happy we got that done. Let's eat up what mana's there. Oh, that's getting close. Mana production did stall, so I went and killed a bunch of creepers. And now we've got gunpowder coming out of all 4 of these. Not max tiered yet, but it'll get there. And probably even this isn't enough to keep our mana going full time. But oh well. Oh, crops, another loose end. So now we've got 25,000 and counting Inferium blocks. That should be enough, or more than enough, hopefully, to, if I can get down here without falling all the way. No, apparently not. That should be enough to be able to upgrade at least the area where we're growing crops with all these growth accelerators. So that'd be 384 of each of the growth accelerators. Obviously not that type though. We've already placed them. We've got more than enough of these. So we'll just set the crafts for these ones. 384, that requires 1300 Inferium. The blue stuff requires 5,500 of it, although the Master Crystal's in use. And then the max tier ones, the premium growth accelerators, is going to eat up 21, basically 22,000. So we should have enough. We should hopefully have just enough, although it's likely to take a while for that all to craft up. But remember, we only need to cover the area, at least for now, where the crops are actually growing. We can just fill in the rest another time. Okay, maybe we'll let that craft up and we'll come back in a sec. Another thing that was a loose end. I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but putting an interface here next to a pattern provider, that's a big boo-boo. Don't do that. I was struggling to figure out why these recipes here weren't crafting properly. Like, I might put in a request for 10 of them and only 4 would ever get made, and then the recipe would just hang in our crafting CPUs. And what it was I had an interface here. In fact, I still do, but I had a full block interface here that's just requesting coal for a mechanical arm over there. And every now and then, the pattern provider would output its ingredients into the interface and just those things would just get returned back to the network. Instead of what's meant to happen, it gives those items to the barrel. So there is a way to change the directionality of these pattern providers. I think it's like you just right-click it, To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what those arrows mean. But this also works. I just turn the interface into this type of interface. So rather than take up a full block, it kind of just sits there on the side. And that way the pattern provider's not interacting with it anymore. And yeah, all the crafts are coming in just fine. So this is now working perfectly, really smoothly. Plan for future chef. And look, some of these things are already done. We're running really low on soy, which is one reason why I want to speed these crops up. Seen as a substitute for like cheese and butter and milk. All right, how's this crafting going? A little bit longer. We can probably skip to the end. All right, so we just need, what's that, 12 more for the whole set to be done, which I can't make. Just waiting for 255 more Inferium blocks. That shouldn't take too long. And now these things will be going so fast, I imagine that every cycle they'll be getting picked up, which is pretty damn good. I might have to shake this up a little bit and add some more soy instead, because it's basically one of our most sought after crops, but nothing to worry about just yet. Okay, we'll get into some MI later on in the episode, but for now, I want to progress just a little bit further in the Astra timeline here, because remember, for the Completionist quest, we're going to need to get a calorite engine, calorite plates. And calorite you get from, is that what that is? Calorite you get from Mercury. We haven't even been to Mars yet. So let's head off to Mars then. It looks like there's a couple of handy enchants that have been added, like gravity normalizing, although that requires Mars stone, so we can't get that one just yet. Acid rainproof, which again you need to explore to get, unfortunately. We need to head to Mercury, I guess, to be able to not set fire to ourselves. Can we do this one now at least? Moonstone. Yes, space breathing. Okay, that's arguably that's the most useful one. And that's going to go in a space suit. Like this. Space breathing. So you can breathe in Ad Astra dimensions, but you use energy or durability. I'm guessing that goes in our chest piece. Maybe not. Maybe our headpiece. And it also says you have to have an oxygen can in your inventory, not oxygen tanks. Right? Like this. And that should mean that we don't have to worry, I guess, about that oxygen managing, which makes things pretty easy. We do have to worry about upgrading the tier of our rocket. All right, let's head on down to our rocket launch. Okay, the quest says, once you've gathered plenty of dash, you can craft a tier 2 rocket in much the same fashion as you made the first rocket. Virtually everything is the same about how to prepare for this flight to Mars versus the moon, except that this rocket requires dash parts instead of steel. So tier 2 rocket, we'll need 2 dash tanks. We'll need a dash engine and a nozzle. So that's just like this. Yeah. Dash block. Oh, this is dash plating. Not dash plating, but dash blocks, which means I need to process a little bit more dash. I'm not going to bother certain recipes for these things. I don't think they're used very often. Okay. Dash blocks. Tier 2 rocket. Where did it go? Tier 2 rocket. I love this. I love holding these things. And then you want to give it 3 buckets of fuel and store a couple more just in case. Like, I got no idea what's going to happen. We'll get a waystone ready to chuck down and a few things ready, a few different ways to get home ready just in case things go awry. And I think that should be all we need to do. So get in, launch this thing. Oh my God. And so we'll run around a little bit up on Mars, see what we can find. I'll set a waystone so we can quickly come back here, and fingers crossed that we're okay with this oxygen situation. Might get my eye of the flugel out just in case. All right, see you on Mars. I think you press spacebar to slow down. Yep, okay, I'm glad I remembered that. Okay, slow it down. We got some hostiles. And a smooth landing. Beautiful. Are we breathing okay? Yeah, doesn't seem to be getting hurt. So let's just take the rocket back. What do you drop? Slime and rotten flesh. Yeah, they just dropped slime and rotten flesh. Yeah, probably not worth getting that in a soul crystal. Yep, there's our waystone. And like all new things, I'll just set some space in a dank so our inventory doesn't get cluttered up. The quest book tells us we can make a solar panel, which which will generate energy in sunlight. That's kind of just if we want to do something up here. I'm not sure we really want to or need to. There's an oxygen distributor. Again, unnecessary for us. Dash cabling, again, if we want power. And draining, we're not going to do that. So we're really just looking for the Ostrom. No, I'm not sure why we didn't get this achievement. Maybe you need to make all these things in order for this one to count. Mars iron ore. Okay, maybe just for the collection. We're actually going to use it. Mars iron ore and Ostrom. Is that Ostrom? Is this Ostrom? Is. Possibly what we should do is check out at what level Ostrom generates. It says it's best at Y, like Y2. And I think I'll just go a little bit wild and collect up a few stacks of the stuff. Uh-oh. Why am I freezing? It's not good. Oh, I ran out of oxygen in this thing. We're gonna have to head home then. Cheeky game. Okay, I think what we're gonna want is we're gonna want to upgrade our can to a netherite oxygen can, which requires just processing a little bit of that Ostrom. Okay, we can head back there in a second. Let's first of all, let's first of all get some Ostrom, this good stuff. Smelt that up. And get some of them turned into plates. Then we can upgrade our oxygen can. And I think it might be smart to actually get another one, so we can walk around with 2 of these things. I am surprised why we haven't got this achievement yet. Let's see if we need the outside things. 12 of them. Let's see. Quest. An oxygen distributor. And an Astra solar panel. Is that going to give us? Yeah, that gave us our quest. Now it just wants us to hold some Ostrom. And technically we're ready to go to the sizzling planet. Cool. Let's head back to Mars. We need to explore this place first. So what we're going to want to do is, although it's a bit messy, you can see here I set the radius to 1,000. I just type in chunky radius 1,000. Then I've centered that radius on me, which is around about these coordinates. And then we'll start this process. And what Chunky's going to do, it's going to generate 1,000 blocks out from where we are, or close enough to where we are. But you often have problems with modpacks when going to new dimensions. So if you use Chunky to pre-generate chunks before you explore them, you shouldn't have much of a problem with lag spikes. So while that's doing its thing, we can get to work collecting more of that Ostrom. Alright, so we have about 1,000 blocks in each direction, which really isn't that much. But I just wanted to get a head start on a little exploration trip because, I mean, there's villages on the moon, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's villages on Mars as well. So I'll fly around for a little bit and see if we can't find any signs of intelligent life. Other than those stinking raptors, it's not looking promising. Okay, this looks like something. What is this? This looks like a shed. Let's go see if that is a shed or just some funny coincidental world generation. Yeah, what is that? That's a house. That is a house or something. And I flew right past it. We have life. Not that ugly thing. What are you protecting? I don't know, but it must have a front door somewhere. Hello? An Ostrom block. That's it? You can keep your treasures. Is that it? Well, that was anticlimactic. Okay, well, I might just fly around for a little bit, spare you guys the tedium, and if I find anything interesting, I'll check back in with you. Another one of these. Also nothing. Can't believe I forgot. There's actually an in-game book. Let's give this a read. So we've done the moon, Mars. It says we've got one goal in mind only, which is to get as much Ostrom as we can to get to Venus and Mercury. I'm not sure if that's implying that there's nothing exciting to do here. We have spotted a few of those huts around the place and raided them, which just nets us a few Ostrom blocks, but nothing too exciting. Yeah, I think this is just a barren wasteland, because I've explored all this and nothing yet, unless there's like a dungeon somewhere that I haven't spotted. Yeah, Universe Spy Hole's also not showing anything crazy underground. Some cool caverns, but no structures. Alright, well, I think that's all she wrote for Mars. So what say we call it? Cool planet, but the book itself tells you got one goal here, and that's to mine as much ostrom as possible to get to other planets. So let's take it at its word and just head home. All right, well, we could go straight on to the next planet, but perhaps we'll see if there's still some time for that after working on the factory for a little bit. All right, modern industrialization. So what's our goal for today? This stuff is, oh my God, 78,000 of them, 0 of the Certus quartz, which is a bit concerning. I should probably create a buffer there so I can have at least 1,000 or something in storage before they all get turned into printed silicon. I think it was a bit of a mistake making the printed silicon with the MI silicon ingots as opposed to the Certus quartz. So I just swapped them back because we had 32,000 silicon dust before. Now we have 0. and you know, our factory needs it. Our factory desperately needs it. So hopefully that can backlog again. What is our primary goal for today? Well, let's see. Steam seems to be going okay, but it did dip earlier as I've started to overclock some of these machines, including the processors up there, leading to like huge increases in power consumption. So power is definitely a concern. So I think what we'll do, if we can, is we'll set up some HB Steam processing. And if along the way we tick off a bunch more quests, that'll be really cool too. In particular, I'm interested in getting these titanium drills set up and running. That would be a huge plus. So pardon the long explanation here, but it's probably worth going over this with you first so you know where I'm at and I'm not just making huge changes to the factory without really explaining it. So this way, if I'm doing a good job, you guys can follow along, and if I'm doing something stupid, wouldn't be much of a stretch, you can call me out on it. Okay, so the goal is to get HB Steam, which you make in this thing here called a pressurizer, which, as you can tell from all its pinkness, it requires titanium to be up and running, and a bunch of other stuff. So first things first, we've got the stainless steel drill here ticking away, and we're only currently processing the moissanite, which is output from it. We'll also need to process the platinum, the titanium, maybe even the tungsten, I'm not sure. So the titanium will do some sulfuric solution to get the hot ingot, throw that through the vacuum freezer, and then just kind of set them up with rods and rings and rotors and all that kind of stuff. So that'll get us our titanium drill heads. Most of this other stuff we have, we'll have to get processing units online, and these things look a little bit tricky. We need, yeah, got all those. Diamond plates are easy enough. Emerald plates are easy enough. That's just compressing the emeralds and the diamonds, which we have no shortage of. Also, platinum fine wire we shouldn't have any problem with once platinum's added to the production line. This other thing though, silicon wafer, that's not as easy because, sure, lubricant we have. Argon we don't have. We'll need to get that by centrifuging up some liquid air, which is vacuum freezing and air intake. Okay. And silicon dust we're producing. Even if I've burnt through all 32,000 of our storage. This iridium tiny dust, we're going to get that by centrifuging platinum. So this is a byproduct of the platinum production line. Platinum has a really interesting production line. So we get this from our stainless steel drill, the ore, and then we macerate it like we normally do into the raw platinum. But then the raw platinum you run through a chemical reactor, melt it down with some sulfuric acid to get platinum sulfuric solution. You purify that in a centrifuge, and there's a very small chance as a byproduct you're going to get iridium tiny dust, which is cool. We need that. I'll get back to that in a second. And then you get the purified platinum solution. You electrolyze that to get tiny dust, and you pack it up into dust, and that's how you continue that production line. Okay, so one raw will get you 3 of these regular dusts. All right, we'll also need to produce some RAM, which will then have all these things, but we won't have the styrene butadiene rubber. So that's going to be a little bit of liquid processing, which isn't that bad because we set up these things a couple episodes back. So I think we'll be starting off here on the right foot. And I want to bet that at that point, power won't be able to keep up anymore, and we'll have to address that. But first things first. There's our titanium ingots. That wasn't too hard. I just had to throw another Canthal tier, one of these electronic blast furnaces here. I put it on the end because it's got, unlike the majority of the crafts, it's actually got an item input, an item output, a fluid input, and a fluid output, and an energy input. So it's got 5 inputs. You can't squeeze it in this kind of tight space like these ones. It needs an end piece so that it can have some hatches hanging over the side here. So I just put a chemical reactor here. I'm not sure that, look, we have sulfuric acid being produced just over there. It seemed pretty easy to sneak a line in of that and then just to create a little closed circuit here for the manganese sulfuric solution. Oh, because manganese sulfuric solution is both an input and an output. And I've just set a priority output on this one from the output hatch going in. So hopefully, and in fact, let's just sever that connection for a second. It's just important that we flush this output hatch here to make space for the next craft. So every time it loses 500 millibuckets. And we want to make sure that we route this right back into the input hatch. All right, I forgot to record then. So I just replaced this fluid hatch with a steel one, which has 8,000 millibuckets. And then we automatically eject that into this tank, which will act like a bit of a buffer. And then with a priority set on this tank here to output from the tank first, this tank should clear 500 millibuckets every iteration. And then it'll start taking from there. Yeah, there we go. And titanium's coming in here. And just like with the previous one, we're packing it up. Oh, I got to set the recipe. I've locked that slot so it doesn't know what to output. And these titanium double ingots will be what I send upstairs to get processed. Cool. And then we should see this stuff come online. Yep, plates are coming in. Curved plates, rings, and rods. And for platinum, task complete, 2,500 dumplings. Nice. So this thing should be getting sulfuric acid, but it should be getting pumped out of here with a much higher priority. Okay. So all we have to do is give platinum ore in to this guy. It'll auto extract up to here, mix with the sulfuric acid to produce platinum sulfuric solution. And that takes a while, but that'll net us the iridium tiny dust and the purified platinum sulfuric solution, which is going to get automatically ejected right up here. That'll get jumped up into the platinum tiny dust, and whatever sulfuric solution's left over should try to find its way out into the network as a priority. So that way you consume this before we start drinking off the main line. And now we got platinum tiny dust. And this thing has no uses, you just got to pack it up. Which we can EBF, freeze, compress, and wire mill. Platinum hot ingots coming out. All right, and when that one's done, any second now, it should deliver it down here, and we'll see this guy activate. There we go. That'll make its way up here, and we'll get all the processing done. And just like that, titanium and platinum are up and running. Super simple, apparently. Okay, so I think we've made good progress. Ignore this line here. It's the only one that's not really following our new piping system. Yeah, so what's that? We just got polyvinyl chlorine online. Once I tick that. So there's 3 liquids that you need to get online at this stage of the game. They are polyvinyl chloride, because that'll net you the processing unit board and those bigger upgrades, which you need to get the processing unit. And recall, the processing unit seems to be like a key ingredient in this stage of the game, and in particular it's needed for the titanium drill. So you need that polyvinyl chloride. Not too hard. Chromium tiny dust we already had. The vinyl chloride was a little bit tricky. Acetylene we have from the distillation tower. So we have that already. We might not have enough of it, but we have it. So I just piped it up behind me here. I'll show you that in a second. And the other thing was hydrochloric acid, which we just so happened to be producing up here anyway in this chemical reactor, which is all part of our process making chromium dust. So I just snaked a little bit off there. So that's one of the fluids. And if you'll see, I'm trying to be a little bit ordered. It is hard when you got a million. It is hard to stay ordered. Oh no. What did I do? Working with these pipes is going to be such a nightmare. And you. Okay, so I figured, why hide from the pipes? Why be ashamed of all the beautiful colors? Instead, let's just bring them up from the bottom of the base, and we'll have them coming along the roof here, getting peeled off like this at all the little workstations that they're going to be needed at. And if you look downstairs, oops, You weren't supposed to see that. And if we look downstairs, we're just piping things over from large tank hatches. Thankfully, you can destroy parts of this tank and replace it without losing the liquids, which is really handy. So we're able to put on a few hatches on the bottom, get a little bit of production going on site for things that aren't really needed for anything else. Like what do we have here? We have butadiene coming in. Butadiene only has one purpose in its life, and that is to make styrene butadiene. Oh, and styrene butadiene has only one purpose in life, and that is to make styrene butadiene rubber. And that rubber we want for, a number of things. So why not just do that little process in here and take away the rubber? Do you know what I mean? And keep the network a little bit cleaner at least. So that's what we're doing here. We also had to get styrene in here, which is just ethylbenzylene. And ethylbenzylene also just so happens to have, yes, it also comes from the distillation tower, but it also just happens to have one purpose in life, and that is to make styrene. So that's what's happening here. And that is also the second liquid that we need to bring online, because that is an ingredient in the RAM, amongst other things. Actually a much cheaper recipe for rubber, so I set one of those up. And it looks like that's being consumed really fast. So I might be able to turn off rubber production elsewhere now. Yeah, so you use it in RAM, and you can use it as a rubber replacement to make a cheaper source of the cables. So it's about 20 millibuckets worth of this stuff, converted into rubber sheets to make the cables, or you can just use 6 millibuckets of the stuff to get the same output. So I'm going to make all my cables this way with the liquid. If we just take a shortcut through the roof, the third and final liquid that you need for this stage of the game is the polyethylene. But thankfully we already set that up a couple episodes back. Here it is. And it's used exclusively to make digital circuit boards and advanced upgrades. And other things that are currently on the bus, and we have plenty of room here. We got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. We could easily squeeze 18 different fluids on this kind of system without it being too clunky. So we've also got hydrogen, nitrogen, argon, acetylene we mentioned, oxygen, and styrene butadiene rubber. And just briefly, the argon is free. It's slow, but it's free. You only get 35 millibuckets of the stuff out of processing liquid air, which we get for free because it's not consuming an air intake from a vacuum freezer. And we need the argon for RAM. That's one, so I have to get that recipe set up now. And we also need it for these monocrystalline silicons, which gives you your silicon wafers. And I set that up downstairs. I'm struggling a little bit on keeping this organized. Like I don't really want to be in a situation where we have these machines on top of our vacuum freezers, but I also don't want to have to lug fluids all over town if they've got just a single use. I mean, it is pretty with the fluid pipes, but if you're doing this at home, it's probably far easier just to route all your liquids through AE and use AE2 interfaces on a bunch of these places. I think if I ever play MI again, I'll probably use AE2 for fluid management. For item management, definitely MI is the easiest way to go because it's just a matter of setting recipes, connecting everything up to a single network, and the pipes do it for you. But the fluids are separate and complicated and messy and difficult to track down if there's a problem. But I'm also trying to do like a bit of a pure MI run here. So we're stuck with these messy and beautiful liquid pipes. God, this is a wordy episode, isn't it? But all we have left to get the processing units online, arithmetic logic unit, easy, that just requires diamond plates. And I'll just dump a bunch of diamonds and a bunch of emeralds into the network, and we'll worry about processing them properly, MI styles, with an implosion compressor once we have that stuff set up. Right. And if we're going to be working up here for a while, I think I'd like a bit of peace and quiet, so we'll just repurpose these burger mutes. Right, so just like we've made all the things that polyethylene require down there, let's use this little station here to make all the things that use up polyvinyl chloride. So you're making us this with items coming in and out on the back. I think we're going to need to reclaim back the sulfur from our production of synthetic rubber here, because these things, some of them aren't filling up. So we're not producing enough. And we have a far better recipe for these things now. Instead of synthetic rubber, we use styrene butadiene rubber. Yeah, so I think I might just tear up all these things, the production of the cables, and put them upstairs with where the styrene butadiene stuff's coming in. That was pretty easy. Right, so that means the only thing we don't have set up now is cadmium batteries. And cadmium looks like it's going to be used in some nuclear stuff later on. But for now, we just get the dust from our moissanite centrifuge in, and that's been stored there. Okay, so we've got that on hand. Bit messy, but I'll leave you there for now. Now that we've got this free space here, let's make the cadmium batteries here. That should be our processing unit boards. There we go. Super slow, 60 seconds to make one. Oh God. And here we can make the emerald and the diamond things. No point learning the names. That just leaves the processing unit itself and some RAM. And then we just have to bring over argon and styrene butadiene over here to the RAM. And that's all we're really waiting on. So that'll be our processing units. Argon, styrene butadiene. All right, definitely really low on argon. I don't think we have a way around this. I think we just have to speed this up by helping overclock it even more. Yeah, I think that's our only solution. And all I can really do is chuck a bunch of upgrades in there so this goes even faster. But the problem with that is we don't have the steam to keep up with it. All these guys just aren't cutting it. As you can see, their network amount 0. So power is definitely our bottleneck right now. We are just consuming way too much. But let's put a pause on power, because I think our goal should be to jump into HP steam production with a pressurizer here. And we can replace these things, these advanced large steam boilers, with high pressure advanced large steam boilers, and watch our production of steam go through the roof. But seeing as that's a bit of an investment, let's put it off till next time and instead just rush to get the titanium drill online. And then at least we'll have iridium and I'll feel like all this was worth something, you know? Drill head and the drills. So that's going to be a large advanced pump and a large advanced motor. Squeezing in here where our cables used to be produced, like so. That's everything we need to make the drills online, although the processing units are going to take ages to back up, thanks to our shortage of argon. There it is. Oh my God. That is pretty good progress. I think that's probably enough MI for today, but next time we'll be ready to jump into implosion compression. I don't even want to think about that stuff. And we'll also get HP energy up and running. I can smell the end game already. Great progress today. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you found it useful. MI can be pretty intricate at times and probably doesn't make for the best viewing experience, but I still try to show just the important bits on camera so you guys can watch the factory as it develops. Alright, next episode might be a bit similar to this one as we chip away at a bit more MI with a big power upgrade, and I'm thinking it might also be a good time to head off to Mercury and perhaps if we're lucky find out what's beyond that. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.